Good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate your time and interest in joining us today. It is so nice to see the participant number continuing to climb right now. It is
Okay.
a great it is a great sign of energy and commitment around building strong family and community partnerships, and we are so glad that you're here. We will wait a moment while everyone gets logged into Zoom for our webinar. As we wait, we would like to share that the California Department of Education, or CDE, is offering professional development certificates to all attendees of this live webinar. Your professional development certificate will be sent from upk at cde.ca.gov to the email address provided during registration. The certificate will come with the name you registered and logged into Zoom under. If you do not receive your professional development certificate within the next 2 weeks or by September 11th, please reach out to us at upk@cde.ca.gov. A link to the mailbox will be shared in the chat shortly. Please note that certificates will only be issued to those who attend the live webinar using the name they registered with. You guys are so great giving me all of that love in the chat right now. I think I really need it. We had some technical issues and we're working those through. So thank you for all of those. I really appreciate it. All right. So now we'll go ahead and get started with our webinar. Next slide, please. Welcome to the California Department of Education Centering Families and Communities P-3 Alignment webinar. We are very excited to be here with you today. My name is Valentina Ware, and I work in the Early Education Division, or EED. I am one of the presenters for today's webinar. We do have a few quick logistics to run through before we get started. We will be taking Q&A or question and answer in the Q&A feature. So please feel free to communicate with us there and ask questions if needed. We will do our best to address them. Lastly, the slide deck and webinar recording will be made available. The announcement through the P3 listserv. If you're not currently subscribed, details on how to join will be posted in the chat shortly. I will now pass it to Steve Profiter, Director of EED, to provide a welcome. Next slide, please.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, Valentina. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're thrilled that you've chosen to join us today for the Centering Families and Communities to Strengthen P3 Alignment webinar. This is our 23rd edition of the Opportunities for All Branch, or OFAB, pre-kindergarten through third grade, or P3 webinar series. I'm always amazed when we rattle off the number in the series the webinar is. 23 is amazing. I'd like to begin by introducing myself and today's speakers. My name is Stephen Profiter. I also go by Steve, and I am the director of the Early Education Division at the California Department of Education. Again, we are so happy to have you all join us today. With me today from CDE are Shanna Burke-Holtz Vasquez, who's the Associate Director at the Early Education Division, Danielle Davis, Administrator of the Guidance and Regulations Office at the Early Education Division. Let's go to our next slide, please. And we are also joined by Dr. Lily Moffett, who is an Education Research and Evaluation Consultant, also at the Early Education Division, and the wonderful, the amazing Valentina Ware, whom you've just heard from. And let's go to our next slide. So why are we here? Today, we are excited to introduce the new CDE resource, the Family and Community Partnership Toolkit, aligning strategies for partnering with families and communities to support diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging from preschool to third grade. This toolkit is designed to support a shared understanding of what it means to partner with families. In it, we encourage P3 leaders, educators, and staff to build on the lived experiences and the cultural assets of families and communities to create those welcoming, inclusive environments in schools and programs. The toolkit also highlights the importance of recognizing and embracing the diversity of every family structure, including multi-generational families, LGBTQ plus families, single parent families, foster families, multi-ethnic families, unhoused families, and other unique dynamics. We know that when children are embraced early on as equal and genuine partners in their children's educational journey, they are better equipped to support their children's engagement with the education system throughout childhood and into adulthood. After all, they are our children's first educators. Next slide, please. Within this, just to talk a little bit about some terminology, within this toolkit, you'll notice a key shift in how we talk about family engagement. At CDE, we continue to recognize the vital importance of family engagement in supporting student success. What's new, however, is our focus on uplifting family partnership, which is a deeper and a more collaborative approach. The shift does not diminish the value of family engagement. Rather, it expands on it, it builds on it by highlighting partnership as an ongoing, interactive process. It's dynamic, a dynamic relationship where school staff, families, and children work together to build authentic, goal-oriented connections. On this slide, we're showing how California's approach has evolved from family involvement to family engagement, and now to family partnership. Each step reflects a deeper, more meaningful connection with families and communities. This shift in both language and philosophy is important. We're moving toward true partnership, recognizing families as their children's first and most important teachers and advocates, and communities as essential to children's learning and well-being. Next slide, please. All right, so what's family partnership and why is it so important? So now that we've explored how our language and thinking around family engagement has evolved, we want to take a closer look at what family partnership really means and why it's so critical. Family engagement remains foundational, and family partnership builds on that foundation to create even more meaningful collaboration. So we'll take a moment to talk about the idea of families as experts. Every family brings deep knowledge of their child, their strengths, needs, culture, and traditions. Who better than the family, right? This expertise is powerful. And when we invite families to co-create their child's learning experience, we're not just including them, we're honoring what they know, and we're building stronger, more personalized support for each child. And this leads us to why family partnership truly matters. When we create that space for families to bring their full selves into the educational process, we see better outcomes for children. It's more than that, though. It's also about equity. By centering family voices, especially those from historically marginalized communities, we begin to break down long-standing barriers in our education systems. And family partnership isn't just a strategy. It's a commitment to doing things differently and doing them better. Later, you'll hear from our guest speakers about how family and community engagement connects to partnership and why this is so important as you work alongside the families and communities you serve. And I think I'm continuing on the next slide. All right. So now that we've explored the importance of family partnership, let's expand our lens to include the broader community. So communities, like families, offer valuable knowledge, resources, and cultural strengths that enrich children's learning and well-being. Community engagement goes beyond, outreach. It also requires intentional partnership with local agencies, local governments, as well, and tribes to align supports with family and child needs. These partnerships are especially critical for historically marginalized communities where access to resources has often been and may still be limited. And by recognizing communities as assets and working collaboratively, we can promote child and family well-being and build more equitable, culturally grounded educational environments. Next slide, please. So now that we've looked at how families and communities are essential partners, let's talk about the values that guide these partnerships, starting with diversity and equity. Diversity means celebrating both visible and unseen differences among people. In schools, this looks like treating all children and families with respect, creating space for them to share their identities, their cultures, and their traditions, and then tailoring learning experiences to help them cultivate their unique strengths. Equity is about identifying and removing barriers that have historically limited access to opportunities, especially for marginalized children and families, where those barriers have just long been in place. It requires intentional action to ensure that every child and every family has what they need to thrive. It requires intentional action to ensure every child and every family has what they need to thrive. I felt like I had to say that a couple times. So let's go to the next slide. And now that we've looked at how families and communities are essential partners, let's talk about the values that guide these partnerships. Pardon me. Let's see here. So a couple of others on values that guide these partnerships. So around inclusion and belonging. So looking at inclusion and belonging. So inclusion we see as providing opportunities for all children and families to engage meaningfully in the school, regardless of their differences. And in schools, it's actively inviting and partnering with all families in school decisions and activities, making sure that everyone has a voice. And as we look at belonging, the result of environments that instill each child and family with the trust and comfort to bring their whole and genuine selves to learning. So, and what this looks like in schools is it's cultivating, the psychological safety and a sense of appreciation among all school program staff, families, and children for each other and the community. Next slide, please. Perfect. So everything we've discussed, family and community partnerships, and the values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging can all be found in detail within the Family Partnership Toolkit. Before we transition to our guest speaker, we have an essential question. Why does this matter? It matters because the early years are foundational. The experiences children and families have in UPK programs and elementary schools shape their long-term relationship with education, how they see education, how they continue to engage education. Are they seen? Do they feel like they belong? Is this a place for them? So by intentionally centering diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, we ensure that early learning is not shaped by oppression or limited by racism, ableism, or other forms of bias. Instead, we create environments where every child has the opportunity to thrive regardless of who they are or where they came from. I will now pass it over to Valentina to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you. That was such a powerful introduction to our Family and Community Partnership Toolkit. It was really highlighting not only the rich content within the resource, but also why authentic partnerships with families and communities are essential to building strong relationships and supporting the well-being of all. It's important to remember also that family and community engagement remains a cornerstone of effective family and community partnership. When families are actively engaged, they become collaborators in shaping the experiences and outcomes of their children. This engagement strengthens trust, increases mutual understanding, and lays the foundation for meaningful, lasting partnerships. Now, we're excited to transition to our guest speakers, who will discuss more about family and community engagement and share insights that further ground this work in practice. After their presentation, we'll briefly highlight a few key strategies from the Family and Community Partnership Toolkit before moving into our panel discussion. It is now my honor to introduce Lisa Borrego and Diana Mesa, starting with Lisa Borrego. Lisa is the Senior Director at California Family and Community Engagement Initiative, or California FACE. She has over 25 years of experience in education and community engagement. She has coordinated several community and statewide coalitions that include collaborations with school districts, county offices of education, nonprofits, law enforcement, county agencies, faith-based and other private organizations to support educational initiatives. Lisa successfully implemented several youth development, education, health, and human service projects that led to multiple funding opportunities for communities throughout California. As the Director of Family Engagement and Community Partnerships in San Juan Unified School District, she coordinated projects and initiatives supporting the 38,000 students and 68 schools within the district. Lisa's last position with the California Department of Education as their first Director of Family Engagement, and then as the Director of the Whole Child Division, where she was committed to shining a light and elevating the work of practitioners all over the state. Next, we have Diana Mesa, MAPR, which is Master of Arts in Public Relations, and APR, which is Accredited in Public Relations. Diana is the Associate Director at California FACE. She brings over 2 decades of experience in communications and public relations, having held diverse roles across institutions, including county, higher education, K-12, and now at the state level, with a proven track record in communications, strategic planning, and public relations. Her expertise encompasses leadership, foundation work, reputation management, and the establishment of effective systems. Diana is actively involved in state and national public relations committees. Beyond her professional achievements, she finds joy in creating lasting memories with her husband and 3 daughters. Thank you so much for joining us. I will now turn it over to Lisa and Diana. Next slide, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for this opportunity to be with you all today. It's exciting to be in partnership with you all to discuss such a very important topic that we know continues to be of importance from birth all the way through the K-12 system and beyond. So thank you for taking your time to be with us this afternoon. I'll be talking a little bit about our California FACE initiative, and then we'll transition it over to my colleague, Diana Mesa, to provide some additional information about the work we are dedicated to doing in our initiative. Let me begin first by saying the California Family and Community Engagement Initiative, or California FACE, was created with a clear mission to strengthen connections between families, communities, and schools so that every student has the support they need to thrive. The initiative has 4 primary goals. First, we work to raise awareness, improve access to resources, and advocate for authentic partnerships between families, schools, and communities. Second, we strive to position California FACE as a trusted source of communication, a place where families, educators, and partners can reliably turn for information and resources. Third, the initiative is focused on expanding educator capacity, ensuring teachers and school leaders have the tools and training to meaningfully engage with families. And finally, we are working to advance policy and systemic change because lasting progress requires shifts at both the practice and policy level. It's important to note that California FACE is a part of a broader statewide family engagement effort. We work alongside other California Department of Education-led initiatives to build stronger, more equitable, and more effective education systems across the state. However, ultimately, as Stephen has already stated, California FACE is about partnership. Families, schools, and communities working together to create better outcomes for students and a stronger foundation for their future. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk about family engagement, transitioning into family partnership, it's important to recognize that it isn't just an add-on. It's one of the most powerful drivers of student success. At the heart of this work is relational trust. When schools and families build trust with one another, that trust becomes the foundation for strong partnerships. And it's through these partnerships that we begin to see real and lasting improvements in student outcomes. Research shows that when families are actively engaged, several important things happen. First, schools are better able to identify student needs because families often bring their unique insights, their cultural experiences, their family experiences, and insights into teachers' classrooms that they may not be aware of. Second, students experience stronger social and emotional growth because they feel a sense of belonging and are supported by both the school and their families. We also see better attendance as families reinforce the importance of showing up to school every day, ready to learn. Engagement also leads to stronger academic performance. When students know their families and teachers are working together, they are more motivated and supported in their learning. But beyond academics, schools may experience fewer suspensions because trust and communication help to support a healthy school climate and culture that focuses on reducing conflicts and misunderstandings. Over time, this translates into higher graduation rates, with more students staying on track to finish school. And finally, students are better prepared for life after graduation, whether that's college, career, or other pathways, because families and educators have worked together to set goals and offer guidance for their future. So here's what we know. When families and schools form strong partnerships, they build trust, they strengthen communication, and place students' academic growth and overall well-being at the center, laying the foundation for lasting success in school and in life. And now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Diana Mesa. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and to everyone in this session. Next slide, please. All right, so what I'm going to talk about is the power of communications and family engagement or in partnerships, and how consistent messaging is key, right? The goal is to align family and community engagement efforts with the school's mission. It's important to work with leaders and educators to establish a regular two-way communication channel or channels with families to build trust. This can be through Dojo, through whatever communications platform that parents are most likely to use in order to create that consistent cycle of communication. And also with storytelling, telling the impactful stories of family engagement that are happening in your schools and districts, and then creating communication campaigns and highlight successes, trying new ways to connect with a parent or families, whether it's through a text, a photo, or just a simple question. You'll see the difference it makes. I can attest to it as a parent of K-12 students, how it's powerful to be able to receive that daily picture or a question or what's coming up in the classroom, because that just allows me to engage and ask questions and know exactly what is happening, and it just builds trust. And so I see this modeled throughout, and it is really powerful when it comes to partnerships and the communications and building trust, which is what we're talking about today. Next slide, please. Really putting families at the center is what we've really been advocating for. And it's knowing your audience. I did work for a K-12 for a couple of years as a communications director, and it is so important to know your community's demographics and communication preferences, so that you build culturally responsive tools that engage families, whether it's, again, through emails, flyers, a phone call, a text message. Some of those outlets are channels, but it's really important to know what you're working with, because some people go back to basics. It might be a flyer and there might not be very, savvy with technology. So it's really knowing what that trend it looks like. And then also always keeping family central in everything that you do. planning. Family should be the key partner, should always have a seat at the table. You know, when you're going through that checklist for LCAP or MTSS, always think, do I have the family voice? Do I have the student voice, right? So that you're able to really co-create and collaborate and communicate, right? To build trust, because this is what we want. Ultimately, we want to be able to establish these partnerships where we can do the work alongside each other. And it does make a difference. And like I said, with my experience, I can attest to it. And then also elevating family engagement, really elevating what you're already doing. And an idea is to create a dedicated family and community engagement tab on your website. And so this will centralize events, stories, and campaigns. So it makes it easy to celebrate the incredible engagement that's already happening. And that's what we've seen through our work across the state, that there's a lot of really good, solid work happening in family engagement. People are just not talking about it enough, or it's not documented. So even just as simple as, creating a tab and putting your meetings or the different things that are happening and some success stories, that will go a long way. Next slide, please. And then part of the storytelling leads us to our newsroom and our work that we're doing through our state initiative, which, because there's good stuff that's already happening, we have created a centralized newsroom where family engagement champions can learn from each other and see how schools are connecting with their communities and districts. There will be links soon that will be put on the chat. But at this time, I do want to call for story submissions. If you have a story, we really want to hear and celebrate your successes. If you have, just let us know. And there's our information is on the slide deck, so that you're able to send that over to us and within the links. But I'm always looking for stories. We're always looking to boast about the great work that's happening in California. So if you do have authentic family engagement that's happening, community engagement that's happening, we really want to know about it and would love to feature and cover the story. Next slide, please. And so I want to highlight our new communications guide that we were able to produce. The last 18 months, we've really been listening across the state on just communications and the need for this space, right? And so the communications best practices guide for building family engagement awareness aligns well with the P-3 Family Engagement Partnership Toolkit that's being rolled out today. And it really is a tool for everyone. It's designed for communications teams, school leaders, and any family engagement champion. And it provides research-based strategies and planning tools to help you better inform and support families. And, this is a perfect resource for planning your family engagement month activities, which is in November, but you can go beyond that. It's not just, we know November is family engagement month. And so we did roll it out in June. So in preparation, right, for the beginning of the school year, to plant the seed so that people can start thinking about how they want to highlight their families and incorporate. But quite honestly, this guide has all of the templates, slide decks, and timelines and best practices that will really help you start having the conversations and implementing the work. So again, that the link will be shared, and I hope that you take the time to download that. Next slide, please. And in conclusion and wrapping up, this is our contact information. This is the QR code for our best practices guide. If you'd like to scan and upload. And with that, I want to thank you for your attention and for being here and learning about how to amplify family engagement. Feel free to contact us. Thank you.
Nicole, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. And then one more. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much, Diana and Lisa. That was a really great presentation. You really illuminated the heart of your work. Your reflections highlighted the significance of family engagement and reminded us that strong, authentic partnerships are the foundation for thriving communities and family and student well-being. All right, now that we've explored the why, let's go ahead and continue with the shift to the how and discuss some of the strategies within the Family Partnership Toolkit to explore how we can put these values into practice in our programs and our schools. And when I say programs, I also want to include our family and childcare homes because I did see someone ask about that, and this is a place for you as well. This next slide outlines key best practices that help create inclusive, equitable, and welcoming environments for children, families, and educators. These practices include engaging in self-reflection to address implicit bias, building leadership buy-in, and fostering strength-based, trauma-informed relationships that build trust and belonging. Next slide, please. In addition to self-reflection, leadership support, and trauma-informed relationship building, there are a few more key practices to consider. One powerful opportunity to leveraging the transition to elementary school as a starting point for family partnership. So that could be a starting point for you. And something that we must remember that for some of these children, it is their very first experience in school. They're young, and the transition can be hard for both children and parents and caregivers, because after all, parents and caregivers, they're trusting us. They're really trusting us to leave their babies with us. They're trusting us that we're going to keep them safe. And I say babies as a parent myself, because that's how you feel sometimes. These moments of change are ideal for building trust and connection early. If you would like to explore more on this topic, the CDE also has the resource Transition to Elementary School Toolkit that you may also explore. Another best practice is building strong community practices. These partnerships enhance engagement, provide supportive resources, and ensure that the cultural and social assets of the community are reflected in the school or program environment. Together, these strategies help create a foundation for inclusive, equitable, and sustainable family and community partnerships. Next slide, please. All right, building on those foundational stages, we are now setting the stage for action by introducing a key resource from the Family Partnership Toolkit. This resource outlines 7 steps for developing and implementing effective family and community partnership policies and practices. These steps offer a practical roadmap for schools and programs to move from intention to action, ensuring that family and community partnerships are embedded in everyday practice, not just a checklist. All right, I really want to highlight that. To walk us through these 7 steps before we move into our panel discussion, I will now hand it over to Dr. Lily Moffitt. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Valentina. So now that we've introduced the importance of developing and implementing effective family partnership policies and practices, let's take a closer look at the 7 steps outlined in the Family Partnership Toolkit. So these steps provide a clear and actionable framework to help programs move from intention to implementation. So the first is assessing current policies and practices related to family partnership. The second is to identify family partnership improvement goals. Third, identify strategies for improving family partnerships. Fourth, seek input from interest holders. Fifth, identify implementation partners and co-construct a timeline. Sixth, implement policies and procedures. And finally, evaluate and improve. So to explore each step in more detail, please refer to the Family Partnership Toolkit located toward the back of the resource. where you'll find additional tools, templates, and supports for your program. Next slide, please. So to support your efforts in strengthening family and community partnerships, the Family Partnership Toolkit has a set of tools and templates that align with the 7-step process. One key resource is a multi-page self-assessment tool, which is designed to help you evaluate your current policies and practices and identify areas for growth. So here are just a few of the tools included in the Family Partnership Toolkit. There's the Family Partnership Policies and Practices Self-Assessment Tool. There's a sample communication to families, a sample family partnership orientation agenda. And together, these resources are designed to be adaptable and practical, whether you're just getting started or refining existing efforts. Next slide, please. So now we're going to be moving into our panel discussion, because you've heard enough of us just talking and we want to get to the panelists. So to start the next slide, we'll introduce our moderator. Next slide, please. We're pleased to welcome Danielle Davis as the moderator for today's panel discussion. Danielle serves as the Education Administrator for the Guidance and Regulation Office in EED, and she'll be introducing our panelists who will share their insights and expertise on today's topic, which is centering families and communities to strengthen P-3 alignment. So thank you, Danielle, for joining us, and we're so excited to have you lead this important conversation. Next slide, please.
Thanks so much, Lily. I'm so honored to be here today, moderating this crucial discussion on centering families and communities to strengthen P-3 alignment, because this really is the passion of my why. This is why I have definitely gone into the field. It's because of the families. So I'm so excited to be here. To begin introductions, I'm going to start with Ryan Carrata. Ryan is the program coordinator for P3 at the Sonoma County Office of Education, with experience teaching TK to first and a strong commitment to joyful, meaningful learning. He also serves as an adjunct professor at Sonoma State University and a national faculty member of PBL Works. Ryan facilitates professional development for early educators through CPIN and is leading efforts to bring the Reggio Emilia Traveling Exhibition and International Conference to Northern California in 2028, coming up so soon. He holds a Master's of Education in Early Childhood Education, a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Art Education, and is currently pursuing a doctorate in education from Purdue University. Welcome, and thank you for joining us, Ryan. Second, we have Kenny Hamilton. Kenny is a TK teacher at Binkley Elementary School in Rincon Valley Unified School District. He brings a rich background in early childhood education to his role. He began his career as a paraprofessional in early intervention classrooms, later working in Reggio Emilia-inspired preschool before transitioning into public education. Kenny truly enjoys the novelty and spontaneity of his students and flow with the energy of the classroom. Outside of teaching, he has 9 nieces and nephews, wow, a domestic partner with 2 teenage daughters, and of course, what other than to love a family rescue dog named Annie. Welcome, Kenny, and also the picture, exquisite. Next slide, please. Third, we have Alejandro Vidal. Alejandro is the Director of Family and Community Engagement at Family Leadership. He has over 15 years of experience leading impactful training events, conferences, and keynote presentations. His work focuses on empowering families through innovative engagement strategies and leadership development. With a background in organizational development and communication, he brings a unique perspective to family engagement. Thanks so much, Alejandro, for being here. Finally, we have Tammy Upton. Tammy is the UPK coordinator for the Yuba County Office of Ed. She's bringing extensive experience in early care and education. Her background includes roles as a family child care provider, a state preschool teacher, an assessor, a coach, and even a trainer. Tammy is passionate about supporting teachers and administrators in creating high quality learning environments. Outside of work, she enjoys spending time with her husband, children, and grandchildren. Welcome, Tammy. Thanks for joining us. Next slide. Now that I have introduced our panelists, let's review the questions that I'll be asking during our panel discussion before we take down all the slides and jump in. So here we go. Question 1, what family and/or community partnership strategy, activity, or initiative are you most proud of, and how has it positively impacted the children and families in your programs? Question 2, what are some specific ways your program has successfully cultivated diversity, equity, and inclusion and/or belonging in partnership with families and communities? Question 3, can you share a challenge your program has overcome in building family and community partnerships and how that experience strengthened your approach? And finally, question 4 is, what are some long-term or short-term goals that your program is working toward to strengthen and sustain meaningful partnerships with families and communities? We'll now take down our slides and begin our discussion panel. So welcome to all our panelists. Hey, everyone. Let's just give a second while we make sure everyone gets on here. Perfect. I think we're ready. Okay, let's jump on in. So the first question was, what family and/or community partnership strategy, activity, or initiative are you most proud of, and how has it positively impacted the children and families in your program? And I'm going to popcorn to Kenny first.
Hey, thanks for having me, and great presentation so far. That was pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to sharing some of the stuff with my families. Two things I'm super proud of. The first thing is something we call a soft classroom opening, and our day officially starts at like 8:27, but I open my door at 8:05, and as the TKers start trickling in, we just kind of have a relaxed entry. It's been really nice because some parents like to linger. You have some parents hanging out outside the door, or you have children showing off areas they were working on. And it's just this really nice connection because it doesn't feel so rigid. I know in elementary school, you wait on your dot, you wait on your name, wait in line, and then the teacher comes out of the door and lets you in. And it feels very authoritarian. You know, these are 4-year-olds I'm hanging out with all day. Like, it needs to be a soft entrance. And then the other thing I'm super proud of, my first school I worked at in Santa Rosa City Schools called Steel Lane. They do back to school night like a big giant party. They got a mariachi band, they got taco truck, they had Kona Ice, which is like the snow cone company. They had some resources and tents from the county, and it was just this giant party. And of course, 20 minutes, you come to the classroom, you get the spiel from the teacher, but every grade had a pop-up tent of the curriculum. I had them sign up for parent-teacher conferences that night at the time, and it was just this really light festival of community. I think back to school night gets a bad rep because the last 30 years it's been sit in the desks, get the presentation from the teacher, ask a few questions, and then you leave. And I think it's hard for families when when you interrupt dinner time and you have family to feed. And so that school I worked for figured out if you bring food, families will come. And of course, like, who wouldn't want to come for tacos and a live music? Like, it seems so like no duh, but yeah, it was pretty revolutionary because I think we were the only school in that district that school year that did it that way. And even then, I think my principal at the time was a little nervous of like how it was going to be received because it was kind of breaking the norm.
I love that. You know, changing the world one taco at a time, right? Like, what? That's how we do it, right? I love that. Okay.
Especially in
Oh yeah.
California. You could say, man, you get some good tacos in California, you got everybody coming out to your thing.
The
So
best.
you go, Kitty. Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. Did anyone else want to jump in and share some ideas of what you've been doing in your programs?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to share that. My name is Alejandro Vidal. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. And our work is really specifically focusing on families and how do we move families from spectators to team players. And something that has been really remarkable is the stories that we've heard coming out of Lancaster School District, Long Beach Unified, and then even down in Inglewood. We've been working with Lancaster School District with a model that's really focusing on staff and parents coming together to work on facilitating workshops that are building parent engagement. I'm not going to tell you you guys know about all that stuff, but the cool thing is we have families who come in to participate these things as feeling like outsiders, right? Maybe predominantly Spanish speaking families, or even we have a lot of Black families who moved from LA to Lancaster because it got too expensive to be in LA anymore. And they're looking for connection, they're looking for community. And seeing the magic of having those families who came in feeling a little bit outside, getting together, creating the village experience of people not knowing each other, then sharing stories and realizing that they're more alike than they are different. Now, that people that look different from you or actually have the same motivations of having their kids be successful, and seeing those families become facilitators, but end up starting like working in fast food and then being district employees 2 years down the line, right? So it's that passionate of building capacity, giving the structure, and then watching generations change. Because if we truly partner with our families, we're changing what 10, 20 years down the line looks like for those kids and those kids, right? So that's really the most incredible thing that I've seen, is the stories of these families that started on the outside and now are driving connection for years to come.
I love that. Tammy, did you want to go ahead and add some?
Yeah, I will.
Please jump on in.
So I love what you shared, because as a former director for state preschool, when I was in charge of hiring staff, I tended to reach out to parents and, have you ever considered, when you see them really building connections with children and they do it naturally, and you see that there's a talent and ability. So leaning into them and then watching them go forward where maybe they didn't see themselves as, someone who could, get a degree or work in education. So yeah, hats off. I love that. So my past experience, I had a lot of years in early education. And in that time, I did 10 years as a family childcare provider. And part of that growth process as a provider was really learning to involve parents and lean into parents and how I viewed them, and understanding that they knew their children best. And I really learned to lean into them to gain information about these littles that were in my care. Then as I moved into the public sector, I was able to take that knowledge and information and that belief that parents and families are their first teachers, and that I'm going to learn from them. So as I took that into the public setting, it was somewhat of a novel idea at first with those that I interacted with. And that my belief was that if we can get families that fall within that umbrella of UPK, from infant toddler families to family child care families, to seeing themselves within their child's learning setting and seeing themselves as carriers of knowledge to help build that partnership with them, then when they leave us, they're going to believe that they're supposed to be involved and active in their child's school life. I was once told, this is just a personal story, by a district staff member, and this was years ago, that I did too much hand holding with our families as we were enrolling them into preschool. And I remember just pausing and really thinking about that. And I said, I hear what you're saying. However, if I hold their hand until they feel confident in this space, then I've helped support that family, and they will now expect to be engaged and be a part of that child's learning experience within this P-12 system. And it's that message that I'm really passionate about. And I take that in my current role to the TK teachers in our county, which is very foreign in the K-12 system now. TK it's a very foreign concept. They're not used to having parents involved in their classrooms or programs or leaning into families. They do when there's trouble or they have questions, but not just to enrich and be enriched by them. The other piece professionally is I'm also part of this county office team, and we have helped to collaborate and implement as many counties and districts have throughout the state of California, ASQ and ASQSE, those screening referrals, but we brought them into the TK classrooms. And those screeners were the first steps for families to kind of help inform them of their children's strengths and potentially maybe things to watch for across developmental domains. And it was also the first time TK teachers got to see what a developmental screener might look like. So that's my 2 cents.
Thanks so much for sharing, Tammy. Ryan, did you want to jump in and add?
Yeah, Tammy, I
Please.
love how you're centering this idea of families as the child's first teacher. I remember back in my undergrad and early childhood, my very first classes, them talking about that. And I went into the elementary school system first as a first grade teacher, kinder, then TK, found my happy place. But that whole mindset of looking at families as co-teachers, as co-learners really guided my approach. And I taught at a school that was very project-based. And so we were always thinking a lot about how to interweave children's interests with standards and that whole tricky dance. It's beautiful when you can actually make it happen. And we tried a lot of ways to bring families in on different projects and different topics of interest, but in ways that felt authentic and meaningful, not just forced. Like, oh, we're going to bring families in just because, like, no, like, what's authentic? What's a good entry point for them? So one year, I remember doing this community helper project, which is, typical in classrooms. And my kids that year wanted to learn about construction workers. And we had a lot of construction projects going on around our school that the children would pass on their way to school. And oftentimes their family members would be working at those construction sites. So I reached out to a family member, just said, hey, we're working on this community helper project. Would you be willing to come in? So we had this construction worker parent come in. He brought his big bag and box of tools and gadgets, and the kids were like, oh my gosh, like open it all up, like unpack it all on the carpet. So he brought out his drill, which was a huge hit, probably their most favorite tool. And it fascinated my entire class with all the noise and the lights that it made. The cool thing is that this parent ended up working with my class one small group at a time, and the classroom that I was in backed up to our playground. So we took one small group at a time to eventually build a fully functional moving wagon that my kids actually got to ride in before the end of the day, which is wild. Like, what'd you do at school? Oh, I built and rode in a wagon. It was probably the most unforgettable and joyful experiences of my time in the classroom. Just because the families got to shine, like they were the teachers, and just seeing the pride in that child's face of their dad coming in with all the tools, and they're peers, seeing them interact with their dad, and again to build a wagon, which I was able to ride in, which was pretty cool. I didn't break it, so that was great. Yeah, just seeing the parents as co-learners, as co-teachers, and valuing their expertise too. And as I talk about this, I can't help but think about all the ways that, I struggled as a teacher to bring families in. So being mindful of those families who can't volunteer in the classroom and meeting them where they are. I remember one year, this mother, she was really crafty. She loved scrapbooking. So she ended up making these miniature scrapbooks and gifted them to my class for them to use during choice time or free play, and to doodle as they came in every day during our soft start. It's like Kenny talked about. Another parent was just a gardener. So she just loved to gift flowers from her garden to beautify the school office or our classroom even. So just rethinking family partnership really, and that can look in many different ways and forms.
I love that. I love that, Ryan. Thanks so much for sharing. And also, I need the name and number of the wagon builder because I have a preschooler at home that would love that activity. So I'm gonna call you after this.
Totally.
That's so, what a cool experience. You know, that's a once in a lifetime experience for a preschooler. They probably never experienced that before. And probably, you know, once they go on into upper grades, like it happens less and less. So like that family engagement is so key, and making families feel like they're part of the community and part of the classroom and have a place in their child's education is like paramount. So I am curious, like if you guys have some specific ways that your program has successfully cultivated diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging for partnerships with families and your communities. And how have you guys done that? What strategies do you guys have? Tammy, do you want to start us off?
Yes. Okay. So I'm sure like most of us, we all, anytime we bring like training or workshops, we make sure we bring a focus and an awareness around inclusion and diversity and equity. And we consistently, and I consistently reference the guidance within the PTKLF. And those who know me know that I am a DRDP girl. I love the DRDP. I've been a user of the DRDP since it was draft. So it's been a minute. And I'm excited about the new rollout, but so the other thing is that we have engaged in the UTK initiative from 21 CSLA. So if any of you have opportunity to speak into your administrators, push them to go to those module trainings and participate in them, because they are really, that's where a lot of them get that big vision shift on what TK and P3 should be looking like. Those modules are supporting California's that kind of bold policy and those moves around equity and inclusion. And then our UPK mixed delivery work group designed a brochure to hand out to all the partners and community agencies. And at first, like, okay, it's a brochure. They and then hand it out to families. Well, a couple of work group members reported back that they've actually attended just various community events to attend them, and they've seen other people handing out the brochure. So when you see the stuff that you're working on, even just a brochure being handed out and delivered to families, and it's meaningful information in that UPK umbrella, it makes your heart smile. Like, okay, we are getting the message out. People are hearing us.
Absolutely. It's important. It's an important message to get out. Ryan, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thinking back at my experiences at that project-based school, our admin, and I love how Tammy again touched on the admin, that admin partnership is really key. They emphasize for us as teachers to really do what we can in making learning visible for families, whether it was physically in the classroom or virtually for families who couldn't make it. And a way that we tried to get the learning out there and make it visible for our families was through project exhibitions that we did throughout the school year. So for kind of like a big project that we would have these evening nights where we would invite families to come check out the projects that children have been working on for weeks and weeks on end. And these projects weren't like big and grandiose, like they were small scale, but just the fact that we would have an opportunity for families to come in and, like Kenny said, serve some food, some tacos, right, from a local taqueria down the street. It really did bring out families to really engage with other families and, of course, engage with their kids. And during these exhibition nights, the projects would be on display, the families would come in, they would be enjoying their food. And I loved that it was an opportunity for me to step back, get out of the way, and let the kids lead. And let them take their families around the classroom, explain what they learned, talk about all the activities they did to their families. Something that helped to this equity and inclusion lens, I put photographs on the walls. That documentation is really important because it can, like, just having a photograph of, like the kids building the wagon and looking at the drill that the family brought in. Those were for our community helper project. Those were photographs out on the wall. And I could tell, like, my multilingual learners, my students with disabilities who maybe struggle to, like, voice everything that's in their amazingly brilliant head, seeing that photograph would be able to spark, like, ideas and things to remember. Like, oh my gosh, like, I told my mom that when you push this button, the drill, can screw in the wood panels to build the wagon and all that. So it was a memory jogger for them. Um, and I like to say that just having photographs on the walls, um, it stopped the "oh, I did nothing at school" mantra that we hear kids go home to their families, right? Like it's there, it's visible. And if we families couldn't come in to see the project exhibitions, we're able to get out information on, oh, if you miss tonight, the project will still be on display in the morning before school, or I would even schedule time for a family, the next week even to come in and see it. Because, yeah, families have very busy lives, and we have to account for that to be more equitable and inclusive.
Yeah, that's right. Equity definitely has a lot to do with representation. Representation matters, and it's the first step, right? Oh, Kenny, yeah, go ahead, jump in.
I wanted to comment on the power of the photograph. That is such an underrated thing in the classroom. I have an old laptop that I use, and it's one of those like foldy laptops. So it's like a kind of a jerry-rigged picture frame, but I have an ongoing album on Google Photos. And if you figure out how it tag each child, so each child will have its own folder at the end of the year. But having these photos displayed on a constant loop of everything that's happening, even like the cool time lapse things I do for our obstacle courses, just having that and seeing the kids like, oh, look at that, that's me. Remember when we did that? And even like on the photographs we asked from the families, like to have this giant wall of everyone that loves your class and their children on this wall, and you have students pointing, oh, that's my grandma, that's my aunt, oh, he's not related to me, but he comes to all my birthday parties. And it's just that ownership. And I think about classroom ownership of like, it's not my class, it's their class for 180 days, then I clean it, do a little razzle dazzle, and then it resets, right? And that I think it's so cool. And even if you empower children to put their own art on the wall is super ridiculous, because you see little 4-year-olds with staplers trying to, or get the thumbtack in there, and it just looks like a messy refrigerator. But they know it's theirs. They know it's their classroom. And I think that is so underrated. And I think families feel that. I mean, I think the most excellent teachers you've ever met or seen or worked with is you can see their heart in action. And I think parents they vibe that. They're like, wow, I think I'm glad the district trusts you, but now I trust you too. Like you're taking care of my human. And once they feel that, it's all downhill from there. Any sort of accident or boo-boo, like the communication line is already lubricated, right? They already trust you, they already know you. Even any surprises that do happen in the classroom, they're like, oh yeah, well, of course that happened. Like, so yeah, I want to just double up on Ryan's photography, and the power of the photo is just. And then just have them email them to you. Like, you don't even need to print them. Get an old laptop, just have the photos on a loop. Like, having them printed is super cool and tangible. But if you don't have a sweet color printer like I do, and a black and white picture, it's powerful, but not as cool. But yeah, the more photos, the better of anything.
I love that too, because uh, Ryan, you've hit a vein when it comes to photography. I'm telling you, if you can see yourself, right, then you know it's possible, right? And that's something that is so true no matter where you're coming from. And for us, we like to highlight our parents that have gone through these workshops and graduated, and put up the pictures of the parents throughout the school site, right? So when the kids walk through and say, hey, that's my mom, or look, hey, that's my dad, right? And then they're like, well, why is my mom not doing this? Why is my mom not a parent champion for family engagement? Well, then you get this grassroots effort of the kids going home saying, hey, why aren't you engaged at the school site like my friend's parent is, right? And it kind of creates this whole buzz. And I think that is a simple way to not only just highlight the importance of parents as partners, but also to get the kids looking as like, hey, I want to see my mom and my dad on campus. Hey, I want to see my mom and dad as a partner. And what we've done specifically as our approach is helping school sites and districts switch from being having a deficit mindset to an asset-based mindset, right? Because if you see if you're doing the work of family engagement, we know that it's hard work and it's hard work, right? You're doing things over and over and over again, and maybe not seeing the success you want to see. You can get to the mindset that, you know what, this is just the school we got. These are the parents we got. This is our lot in life, and not recognize, like Ryan did, the asset of the construction worker down the street that could come into the classroom and show something that captivate the kids, right? There are so many problems that we see in education and even in our sites, but the solutions are right in front of you. They're the families that are in your community, right? You don't have to wait for somebody coming from down on high to come and tell you how to do this. It's like, let's bring in the people that are already here, highlight their assets, give them some more equipping. Man, you get to see what it looks like to truly have diversity, equity, and inclusion from a really authentic perspective, right? And you start tapping people on the shoulder and saying, hey, I think that you can be a leader here. I know that you're real vocal on Facebook. I know you be talking all this mess all over the place, but you have influence. And if I can get that influence working here to build up something we want to do as a squad, you can't miss. So I just echo all the geniuses that are in the room. Great job, everybody.
I love that. I love that. Be an influencer in this classroom, please. Not just on Facebook. I love that. I will say like family engagement for those that are in it and love it and want families to be partners and do all this, like it's definitely a passion, right? It definitely comes from within. But it also definitely comes not without its challenges, right? So I kind of want to get into like what kind of challenges have you guys faced? What kind of challenges have your programs overcome in building family and community partnerships? And like, how have those experiences strengthened the approach that you take when you bring in new families to your classrooms or your programs or just as you engage throughout the year? I'm gonna start out with Ryan on this one, if you can.
Yeah, sure. And something I thought about too, as far as like accessing the families and bring them to the school, they hear our voice all the time through newsletter, through email, through text. The shift for me and these project exhibition nights and other things that we did, having the kids write the invitations to the families, that will really bring the families there because it's something like just have them get a crayon or a marker in their own child-centric way, originality, like, oh, come to this. And it's all like, the A's all crooked and they got the little different little family everywhere. That will really speak volumes to families that, hey, my child really cares about this event. I better go, right? Than our polished teacher email. Um, Something that I was thinking about is our own biases, right? I really reflected on like how we assume is the right mode or format to communicate with families and really like just saying, hey, I just need to reach out and say, what works best for you? Is it a text? Is it a before school check-in? Is it, do I need to do a home visit? Like, what is the best way? Because when I found that when you do reach out, you don't know what barrier we could be removing for them. We don't know the past experiences that the family has had with school. Some of them very negative, and they just want to stay away from school. But the moment I felt like when I could personally do that, reach out and say, hey, like, I care about you. I'm here for you. It's like, oh, okay, this place is for me. Like, this place is going to welcome me and all they have to bring all or nothing, I found that really did wonders at sustaining meaningful and rich relationships that ended up supporting the child in the long run. Because we don't know where families are coming from and their thought process around school. But just to answer your question, I think again, thinking really broadly and alternatively about how to reach out to families who are hardest to reach.
Yeah.
So thinking about those exhibition nights that we did, what are some alternative ways that families can't come, right? Whether do schedules or whatever have you. So I remember doing like digital slide deck of like, okay, I would take pictures of each of the kids' projects or activities and put it in a slide deck and send it through text, send it through email. Our school had a Facebook page, Instagram, social media, to get that information out there. I remember just families talking about, hey, I don't really do technology. What's another way? So another family just wanted things paper copy. Like, okay, that we're gonna meet you there. We're gonna definitely get you what you need in the best way that you can access things. So it takes time. It's hard work. It's challenging, but again, it's the relationships that's really going to sustain if we do go the extra mile.
Yeah, I love that, Ryan, because a lot of the work that we do is undergirded by Dr. Karen Mapp. She is like the leading voice in space of family community engagement in the world. If you don't know her, check her out. She's unbelievable. And what she talks about is the most important thing if you want to see movement from just sharing resources to actually building capacity for partnership, you got to be relational, right? And a lot of things that you were just talking about was so directed to proximity. If you are close to the family, if you can have a conversation with them, then you can ask them, what's the best way that we can be able to reach you? Because we may think Parent Square is the way to go. We got the phone calls going out here. We're doing all of the ways that we know. But sometimes it's the personal invitation to, hey, I know you, you know me, I care about your kid, you care about your kid. Let's do something together, right? But also, I think we have a desire to go really wide before we go deep, right? So often we're talking about numbers of like how many people have shown up to these events, right? How do we actually talk about success? It's got to be about the amount of people that are there instead of the depth of the relationship, right? So you may have 100 people show up to something and they may leave with no next step, but if you have 10 that are invested, become billboards for connection, start reaching out to parents who need to be connected with, and instead of a staff member had to go chase down a parent goes chase down a parent, it means, oh, it's a whole different conversation. And it's like, okay, they do value us here. Okay, they do, especially talking about our Black and Brown communities who can feel ostracized because of years of generational challenges with education, right? So instead of trying to like, hey, let's just get everybody here, let's be intentional. Let's take the time. She said, let's lead with our ear instead of with our mouths, right? Because when we're leading with our mouths, it's transactional. Sign this, be this here, do this. But if you listen with your ear, you can connect to the heart, and then you can connect to academic success and standards, right? So that's not me, y'all. That's Dr. Karen Mapp. I'm not that cool. I just read her stuff. So anyway.
I'll share something. Mine's around more of an exclusionary approach that was occurring within, and I know it was happening across multiple counties throughout the state. When TK, the age was rolling backwards, and as it got closer and closer to this full rollout year, we were hearing stories of children being excluded from service because they weren't toilet trained. And then, which we know is illegal. And then we also were hearing rumblings in like the state preschool classrooms that as TK children were going into TK, they were getting these children in state preschool that were younger, and they weren't potty trained, and it was just creating this uproar. And so us in ECE, we have, if we have a strong background in that, we know developmentally appropriate practice and we know best practices. But if in that TK setting, that unless that TK teacher has a strong background in ECE, or the school administration, if they don't have a strong background in ECE, those practices are really unknown or foreign. So we realized as a county team that we had to kind of go to the drawing board and talk about toilet training. So we were able to access, tap into a toilet training presentation that was, I believe, originated somewhere in LA or Orange County. And they shared it with us, and we were able to add some like localizations and, kind of put some other information alongside of it. But we took that message to anyone who would listen to us. We took it to districts, we took it to state preschool programs, we did it in the evening for regional folks to jump in on and watch. And we've done it several times, and it's been very well received, to the point that we now see changes in belief systems and educational processes and approaches across multiple delivery systems, including TK school sites. And so our approach was not to shame and blame and how could you, but to really, just like we do with our kids, acknowledge where they're at, how can we support you, and how can we move forward. And so it was really just taking that situation and creating a learning setting where everyone felt safe, secure, you can ask questions, and here are real strategies to use in those settings.
Thanks, Tammy. Kenny, I know you're going to take us home on this because I know you got something up your sleeve, huh?
Oh, what was the question? There's the challenges we're overcoming?
Yes. How are you overcoming challenges? I know somebody who submits a picture with a unicorn on a carousel is going to have good things to jump over barriers. So I'm
Okay,
here, I'm
well,
open ears.
I think it was a Pegasus, but
Oh,
I need to look at that. Yeah, there was no
my
horn. All right, I don't know. I don't know if you know the difference between an alicorn and a unicorn and a Pegasus, but it's wings and horns. All right, you got to look
You
that
know
up
what?
after this.
You're right. My mythical creature knowledge maybe has been diminishing, but I'm gonna work on it.
You got to
Okay.
hang out with more 4-year-olds, man. They know a
You
lot
know,
more.
I know my son is only 3, so like I'm working on him so he
Oh,
can teach me so
teenagers.
that yeah, I exactly,
Isn't he
exactly.
just the most perfect little jerk?
Yes, I'm just trying to survive, okay? I'm just trying to survive. That's all.
I think about this these last few weeks, right? School year starting. This is our official 3rd week, and I just recovered from COVID, so I'm still kind of foggy, but I am so proud of this family. They brought in a toilet, and it was this miniature toilet, and I'm looking at them like, who's gonna clean it? You're gonna clean it? That's cool. And the janitor was like, you can't do that. Like you can't have a fake porta potty in your bathroom. I'm like, all right, so I got to use that as sorry, we can't have this toilet, but bring an adapter, I have a squatty potty from a previous student last year. Like we have like everything but a bidet in my bathroom. And the family brought in this little like Minnie Mouse toilet insert. And the anxiety for going to the bathroom has just like diminished completely. And it's so fun. I was like, you make yellow? You make yellow with Minnie? I had a girl, and you give her some nuts, and she washed her hands, and then like she goes back to her play. But you have to keep it light, you have the anxiety that parents bring about toileting, and the shame, and I've probably potty trained about 500 students over the last 10 years or whatever, and it's not hard. You just keep it a matter of fact, and yeah, you wet your pants, who cares? Go change, all right. But approaching that family and coming in soft and like, well, what works at home? Well, we can do that here. Oh, she knows how to wipe herself. Okay, well, we can't flush that, but you can throw it in the trash can. So all these little nuances. And I spoke to, like, you show your heart to families, they just lean in. Like they figured out that, wow, you really like this job, you want to be here, and that is a blessing in disguise. I also think about TK, we're the first line of like love and offense in an elementary campus. Like, unless there's a local preschool that's already on campus and they already know the office manager and they already know people, like the airbag and the hug that I have when they come in, it has to be like something they've never had before or equal to their preschool experience. Because I think Alejandro said it was all relationships. That's the only thing that matters. And yes, other things matter, yes, right? But once you get that relationship going with the child and the family and their grandmas and their aunts and uncles and their nannies and all this stuff, like, and you just have their entire village, um it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And oh gosh, I have a crew that hangs out after school every Wednesday because we have leftovers, early release or whatever. And I call them the charcuterie crew, because you have all these students eating their leftover salamis and cheeses with all these random humans in their village. And it's brilliant. And it's rolled over from last year. So I got kindergarten teachers doing the same thing. And it's just like that that light community building of just eating their child's leftover lunch together. Like, I think it's absolutely beautiful. And overcoming any challenges with that kind of community with a charcuterie crew, like there are no problems. There are only solutions and new ideas. Like it's not a thing, you know, just love the human for 5 days a week, you know, so many weeks out of the year, and then you send them off. And it's brilliant because like this is the first year I'm on the same campus, and I got families coming in to say hi randomly. Like I'm like, yeah, come on in, I'll put you to work. Help me set up this table. And having that connection, I mean, like every teacher has to be giddy about that. Like, I can't wait to see my TKers in 6th grade. And someone told me TK teachers are the best teachers because we get to see the children the longest and we get to know them the longest. TK to 6th grade, that's like 7 years of heart work. And you get them in the buddy programs with the reading and stuff. Like, yeah, it's a dream gig. I don't know what everyone else is doing, but everyone needs to be teaching TK.
I love that. What a plug, right? What a plug for the TK. You get the longest time with the coolest kids. It is, that's the way to go. I think you're right, Kenny. Um, we're almost at time, but I'm just gonna have Alejandro close us out with this last little bit of question. Just thinking through some like long-term goals, short-term goals when you're working towards strengthening and sustaining meaningful partnerships with families and communities. Like, do you have some like quick little snippets that we can have everyone be influencers in their
Yeah,
own programs?
no, I love it. Um, the short-term goal is find a comprehensive evidence-based approach that gives you the structure that helps you to focus on the things that you really need to focus on, right? If you don't have to reinvent the wheel, find the one that works for you all. But the other piece is just like, how do you start sharing hope, right? Because I think the work of family engagement leads to better teacher retention, healthier and happier campuses. You have admins that can do their work well because they have the support of the village, right? So how do we invest first and foremost in recognizing that we can empower the people in this village? It may be scary initially, like, oh my gosh, you know what she'd be saying? She in the office all the time. But if we can share a little bit of responsibility, share a little bit of partnership, my goodness, the long-term goal, the long-term success, you just see TK through 6. By the time those kids leave, man, they're ready to take over the world because they've been invested in and they've been in a space where people believe in them, care for them, and then we just get to see them thrive. And then California stays the best state in the world, right? So anyway, so that's what I would leave everybody with. Enjoy tacos, everyone. We're coming to Kenny School. That's what we're about to do. All right.
Yep, we're gonna show up at Kenny's school one day for back to school night, and we're gonna have all the fun. You will all be jealous if you're not there. So keep in touch, right? You guys have been an incredible panel today. I appreciate all of the love from the audience today. I've seen so many hearts and hand claps and, you know, fireworks and confettis and all of it because everything said today just hit home, right? I think the most important thing and the thing to wrap us all up is every single person talked about how the village is important. We all grow up with our village, right? This whether it's the charcuterie club, whether it's the, you know, the families partying at back to school night, whether it's the community partners down the street who's helping building a wagon, it doesn't really matter who it is, but knowing that you are part of that community and that you have people that love and support you and care about you, and this idea that you can get, you know, other families to be on another family's emergency card is crazy awesome. Like goals, you know, like those are goals. And if you can create a village to do that, you are making the utmost difference, not just for those families and those children, but for your community as a whole. Like that's how that word of mouth goes. That's how people want to come to TK. That's how they're excited to start their, you know, school career. It's so terrifying being the smallest person on the campus in such a big school. You know, even if you went to preschool or daycare or, you know, wherever, like like it's a big school. It's like when you walk to on a college campus as the first time after high school, like it's huge compared to what you're used to. And you know, like just those bright eyes and bushy tails, and they're so ready to learn, and they're so eager if you know everyone's open and willing, and your heart, it's the heart work, right? If you're there, if you show up, if you do all of these things to create the magical village that every child needs to succeed, like it will happen. Building families. You guys have had such amazing strategies. I took a couple notes of top key points for me, which was like parents are co-teachers and co-learners, like meeting families where they are, not where you want them to be or where you assume they are. Like that is huge. Not making assumptions about families is like, you know, it should be 101, but it's oftentimes not the first thing we think of, right? And that's okay to admit to ourselves, like, oh, well, you know, obviously we do that for children every day, but we also need to extend that same grace to families. Having administrators that are partners, right? That's huge and crucial when you're working in any sort of system that's bigger than you. If you don't have the people that are administrating above and making those big decisions, like knowing about the importance of family partnerships, it's very hard. So like, how are you getting those people involved, making sure that they're ready, making sure that you're on their side? And it sounds like you guys have incredible strategies to do that. So like, that's super great. And of course, the power of a photograph. Like I will never not think about this, Kenny. Every time I go into my child's preschool class, I'm like, where's all the pictures? I need more pictures. I'm gonna go donate a laptop or something. I don't know, like maybe one of those you know, those picture frames that are like digital that like parents can upload, something like that. Like that is wonderful. Like what a great idea. Like I never really thought about just not like, of course we live in a digital age. Of course you could just make digital pictures, right? Like that's what a great idea, you know? And then how easy is it to just send afterwards? Like you have these awesome little portfolios for each child that you're just like, here, parents, here's all these awesome pictures of your kid throughout the year. Let's see, what else did I have? Because you guys had some really good things. Oh, billboards for connections and leading with your ears. Like that is the one I'm going to close this out on, because leading with your ears, I know that wasn't you, Alejandro, but you brought it to me. So I'm here to give you credit today. And Miss Karen Maps, I'll give you credit too. But also like that is incredible, right? That is so, so important. Leading with your ears when you're talking about families. You're not there to like teach families or be their spirit guides. You're there to literally be their support. And so how are you doing that with families? And you're right, it's by leading with your ears, not by your voice. And that is so powerful. So I really appreciate you bringing that to us. That is one sentiment that I know I will take away in how I interact with families um, on a daily basis. And Kenny, I'm coming to you for some tacos. And then, so I much appreciate all the panel today. Thank you guys all so much for all the work, all the wonderful experiences. You guys have provided so much information. And I hope everyone here took something great from this webinar, took something great from this panel. There was a lot to share. So much appreciation. And I'll jump us into our professional development certificate. Thanks, panel. Perfect. Thanks so much. So this is our professional development certificate. This is what it looks like because we have an awesome team who made this wonderful one that looks so amazing. As I mentioned at the start of the webinar, we do have these professional development certificates that CDE is so excited to offer all attendees of this live session. Your professional development certificate will be sent to you from the UPK inbox, which is upk@cde.ca.gov. To the email address provided during registration. So if you registered using your own email address, which I hope you did, that's where the email will go. They will also use your name that you registered under. So if it is not correct, please make sure to email that same inbox, and we'll get that fixed for you. If you do not receive your professional development certificate within the next 2 weeks, so what is that, by September 11th, please reach out to us at the UPK inbox, so upk@cde.ca.gov, and a link to the mailbox will be shared in the chat if it hasn't been already. You guys are on top of it. I'm now going to pass it over to Steve for our final reflections in closing. Thank you so much, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle. I mean, what an inspiring, thoughtful, and fun discussion today. I don't know about y'all, but I didn't want to stop. I was asking myself, how do we take this on the road? It was just brilliant. And how do I even follow this panel right now? You couldn't see it when I was off camera, but I did my happy dance a few times, and my mic was on, or off, so you couldn't hear the belly laughs. But all kidding aside, it was a great. Just loved it. And so I want to take a moment to thank everyone who made this webinar possible and contributed to this important conversation about centering families and communities to strengthen P3 alignment. To all the participants who took time out of your busy day to join us, thank you for being here and for being engaged with this critical topic. I want to share a heartfelt thank you to our presenters, Lisa Borrego and Diana Mesa, for highlighting the essence of your work and bringing attention to the critical role of family engagement. Your insights reinforced how authentic partnerships with families and communities foster strong relationships and support overall well-being. And to our wonderful panelists, Ryan, Kenny, Alejandro, and Tammy, thank you so much for a meaningful and enjoyable discussion. I loved hearing the magic you all bring to your schools and communities. And I myself am heading to back to school night for my middle schooler after we wrap. I'm not sure if we're getting tacos, but I'm going to have to find some now. I also want to express a huge appreciation for our incredible CDE team. This webinar would not have been such a success without your dedication and collaboration. So to Shanna, Danielle, Beth, Valentina, Lily, Anna, Teresa, Nicole, Stacy, Kate, Sarah, Jasmine, Nadia, and our wonderful ASL team. So many brilliant minds came together to make this event happen. Thank you again to each and every one of you for your time, your attention, and your commitment to this work. We truly appreciate you. I'm going to close this out with a quote. Partnership is not about involvement, it's about belonging. Families aren't guests in education, they're co-creators. Have a great evening, everyone.